Smaller than usual delegations and more hybrid meetings, so the assembly does not become an international superspreader event. Michelle Kellerman, NPR News, Washington.
Firefighters are working to protect giant sequoias from a wildfire burning in Central California. That includes a grove with the world's largest tree by volume, the General Sherman sequoia. Tan Nguyen is with the Orange County Fire Authority. He says the base of that ancient tree has been wrapped in protective foil.
They've actually set up sprinklers in that area and cleared the fuel on the ground to keep that fire away, and if it actually does burn, to keep it low intensity.
The wildfire has spread recently because of strong winds. This is NPR News.
And don't go away. We've got First Coast Connect with Melissa Ross gearing up, and that starts at 9:06 this morning, and I'm sure we'll be talking about some very important news going on in the community. But first, we want to bend your ear and just let you know that this is our pledge drive here at WJCT News. The number to call right now is 904-353-9528. That's 353-9528. I'm Michelle Corum. I'm here with David Luckin.
And we'd like to thank Barbara in Jacksonville for giving us a call, Joel in Jacksonville, Stephen in St. Augustine, Victoria in Jacksonville, and Leanna in Jacksonville. Thank you so much for your financial support. Now it's your turn. We want you to give us a call at 353-9528 and join everyone else who's called us so far this morning. It's been a good morning so far, but we've got a whole week to go. So please make that call now, and then you won't have to worry about it for the rest of the week.
And we need a lot of you to call because we're looking for 50 people per day to sign up as new investors to this public radio station and your public television station. Your dollars go to pay for all the radio and TV programming that you enjoy and rely on 24 hours a day. And we've got lots of ways that we deliver it to you, but it does cost some money, and we need 50 of you to step up at least $5 a month, become a sustainer to WJCT, and if you give $10 a month, you could get a Public Radio Nerd t-shirt or a pair of socks. You get your choice there. So that is a very stylish statement, and you need to be wearing one because you're listening, and we need you to give right now. The number is 353-9528. Again, 353-9528. We're about to start the program, First Coast Connect with Melissa Ross. We know you enjoy it. We enjoy it. We're proud of it. And here it goes. Thanks for your support.
Why are local protesters, tax-paying citizens, banned from part of Jacksonville City Hall? Good Monday morning. We're live from Studio 5. I'm Melissa Ross, and this is First Coast Connect. Thanks for listening. Just ahead, as activists turn up the heat in their calls for removing a large Confederate monument still standing in the city, City Hall responds with a controversial new policy. Already getting your calls. Join us, 549-2937. Then later, it's Climate Week. We'll tell you how scientists are enlisting moms across the country to get their message out. But first this hour, we've been talking lately about protesters who are getting louder and louder, demanding removal of a Confederate monument that is still standing in Springfield, even though it's been covered up with a tarp. Well, recently they tried to take their group to City Hall for a meeting with the mayor. In response, instead of scheduling that meeting, the city enacted a new policy tightening access to the upper floors of City Hall. Signs posted Wednesday on the first floor of Jack City Hall say that going to the second, third, and fourth floors can only happen by appointment or invitation of a City Hall official or department. If you violate this policy, you can actually get arrested. Last week, Ben Frazier of the Northside Coalition of Jacksonville appeared on this program. He said he and other activists plan to turn up the heat on the mayor's office until the Confederate monument in Springfield Park comes down.
The mayor is shutting us down and shutting us out. He's continuing his bully politics, his old boy politics. Unfortunately, it's time for change, and it's time for him to make the move, but he's not doing it.
We reached out to Jacksonville City Hall. They say they have nothing new to say about the monument issue. Keep in mind, last summer, during the height of Black Lives Matter protests in this city and nationally, Mayor Curry brought down the Confederate monument downtown in the former Hemming Park. It's now James Weldon Johnson Park. That Confederate soldier was removed. The mayor promised to remove all of the other monuments still standing in the city. The big monument in Springfield Park went up about 100 years ago during the Jim Crow era. It's dedicated to the women of the Confederacy. The city has covered that up with plastic, but it's still standing. So let's get the latest on this. David Bauerlein has been following the story for the Florida Times-Union. He's on the line. Hi, David.
Hey, good morning, Melissa.
And here's our question to callers. What do you think of the city forbidding people from accessing the upper floors of City Hall without an appointment? This is a public government building. You pay taxes to keep this building going. It's the people's building. Give us a call, 549-2937. Emails to firstcoastconnect@wjct.org. Tweets to @MelissaInJax. So, David, these activists, the Northside Coalition of Jacksonville, Take 'em Down Jacks, other groups, they've been pressing the city for months now to take this monument down and any other memorials and markers to the Confederacy. They've asked for a meeting with the mayor's office on this. What happened last week in response?
Well, I think you laid it out really well, Melissa. There was some interesting reporting as well by First Coast News that got some emails that showed that in about a 24-hour period prior to a protest that was going to be conducted and was conducted by the Northside Coalition and other groups that opposed the Confederate monuments last Tuesday, just about an hour before the city council meeting was going to start, that some city officials deemed that it was now an emergency to take some action to set some policies in place that would essentially make it where nobody from the public could go above the first floor of City Hall without having permission or consent from the city officials to get on that elevator and head up to the second, third, or fourth floors. So that's where things stand in terms of the policy, the signage that is in place. For your listeners, I mean, the City Hall is a 4-story building. The fourth floor is really the seat of city government because that's where you have the city council offices, that's where you have the mayor's office. And even without this change, of course, you could go up to the fourth floor, but you can only get as far as the lobby of those particular offices. And then there was a locked door in order to go beyond that, to actually go to a city council member's office or to get into the mayor's office. So there was some restrictions in place. Now it's forbidding anybody from even going on the elevator to go above the first floor without having an invitation in advance.
This is remarkable, frankly, because the upper floors of City Hall have typically been open for publicly noticed meetings. In particular, we do have broad sunshine laws in this country, in this state, I should say, that allow you to find out about these meetings and attend them. Will these now not be available to the public?
Yeah, that's a great question, and one that we've been trying to get answered is how is this going to affect those particular meetings? City Council often has meetings up in its area of City Hall. The mayor's office less frequently, but sometimes has meetings as well in a conference room that's in that portion of the fourth floor. There have been some other meeting rooms and other floors of City Hall that have been used in the past for meetings. And the idea was if you went up to a city council meeting, for instance, the way it would work, you'd take the elevator up to the fourth floor, you'd get to the lobby of the council office, and then you'd say, I'm here for the meeting, and then they would buzz you in. How does it work now? I mean, if you show up, do you have to get permission to come up to the fourth floor and then to the meeting? Is it no questions asked if you say, I'm going to a meeting, and they say, okay, go for it? There's some real questions there about public access to these publicly noticed meetings and how those are going to be handled with this new policy.
Now, the Northside Coalition at the end of August said they were planning to get more aggressive, using nonviolent civil disobedience tactics to force the city, David, to bring this monument down in Springfield Park, including disrupting meetings, sit-ins at government offices. There's a long tradition of that in this country. Under this new policy, anyone who tries to do that will face arrest in the city of Jacksonville. Is the city on solid legal ground? Can they legally ban access to these parts of City Hall?
Yeah, that's a great question. So my sense as somebody who covers a lot of different entities in this city over a number of years is that the policy restriction was not the first building that's done this. I covered JEA, for instance. JEA has its board meetings on an upper floor of its building downtown. And to go to that meeting, I would first go through a security checkpoint like you see in a lot of buildings now, and then get on an elevator, and there would be somebody, a security guard, then goes up with members of the public who go up to that meeting. So it's not like I could just show up, get on the elevator, and go up to that board meeting. There are other buildings around town that have the same thing, where the administrative offices are. There may be a security guard or some station, and you say who you're there for and that kind of stuff. So in and of itself, perhaps it's not unusual to have administrative offices that are sort of have this requirement, this sort of checkpoint, as it were, at public buildings that are open to the public. It's unusual here as you have the elected leadership of the city is also falling under that type of constraint in terms of being able to get up to that fourth floor and say, I'm here to see council member so-and-so, or I'm here to see the mayor and I'd like to talk to him about this or that.
We'll go to your calls in a moment as we speak with David Bauerlein of the Times-Union. The mayor's office and the Jacksonville City Hall leadership, they have banned access to the upper floors of City Hall without an appointment or an invitation because activists continue to protest, calling for the removal of a large Confederate monument in Springfield Park. Give us a call. It's 549-2937. Now, David, these activists have repeatedly said they've asked for a meeting with the mayor about this. During the Black Lives Matter protests last summer, the mayor promised to bring all of the remaining Confederate monuments in Jacksonville down. He followed through on the one in the former Hemming Park, the statue of the Confederate soldier in front of City Hall. That came down, and the park was renamed after a black hero in this city, James Weldon Johnson. But the mayor hasn't followed through altogether. This monument in Springfield Park is covered up. It's sort of in this weird state of limbo. It's covered up with a tarp. The statue of the woman. It's a monument to the women of the Confederacy, but it's still standing, and it's a large stone monument. It would be quite a job to remove this thing, but the mayor did promise to do that. Why is he banning access to City Hall or parts of City Hall rather than just meeting with these groups?
Yeah, just because it's covered doesn't mean it's out of sight is out of mind. It's certainly on the minds of people who feel very strongly about this issue. As far as meeting with the groups, that seems like it would be advisable, right? They're your constituents and they have a position and they would like to talk to you about it. I'm not sure that a meeting would result in a resolution to it. There was a group that was put together by the mayor, kind of an ad hoc working group that consisted of some historians and some art type people that made some recommendations earlier this year that would have essentially recommended that the monument and the statue would stay, but it would be recontextualized. There would be some wording to the effect that it would not stand as a celebration of the Confederacy, is how they would have done it. Acknowledge the work's racist past, that kind of thing. So the monument would stand, the statue would stand as part of the city's history, but you would have signage and other sort of talking about what the source was for the monument going up in the first place. So there's that recommendation. That has not been acted on. Then you have obviously the recommendation or the demand from the group to take it down entirely. Just basically, it's no longer there, which would be a pretty large task. It's a very heavy monument. And then there's the other option is you just leave it the way it is. And there may be some people who just feel like it's not that big a deal, so just leave it, move on. But so far, we haven't heard from the mayor's office about which of those, if any, he's going to pursue, or if it's just going to be lingering out there for the rest of his term, and the next mayor is going to have to deal with it as well.
5492937. The largest and most recognizable monument perhaps in America went down a week or two ago in Richmond, Virginia, David. A 131-year-old statue of Confederate General Robert E. Lee. This thing weighed 12 tons and had a 40-foot pedestal. It is, more than any other monument in America, I think, the symbol of the Confederacy and of slavery and white supremacy. That monument came down, and there were certainly people that thought it would never come down, but it did. And that is on track with how this is going around the country. Monuments across America are coming down. Monuments to the Confederacy. We saw the renaming of schools in Jacksonville recently that were named after figures with ties to the Confederacy. For example, the former Lee High is now Riverside High. Lots of tweets and emails about this. Here is a tweet from Lane. I believe protesting should be done outside the building. Protesters as individuals should be allowed inside to conduct business and speak with officials about their concerns. Elliot tweets the show, it's upsetting this restriction seems to be in response to the monument issue, but I think after January 6th, these restrictions might actually be justified. Here's an email from Mike. Mayor Curry not allowing access to City Hall is an affront to democracy. I don't need an appointment to go to my senator's or congressman's office in Washington. Why should I need an appointment to get invited to the mayor's office? Instead of barricading himself in his office, the mayor should keep his word. On Facebook, Hope writes, members of Take 'em Down Jacks have been asking for a meeting with the mayor for 2 months, long before last week's protests. The mayor's office refuses to meet with people who want to know how we can help him meet his obligation and fulfill his pledge to remove the monuments. If he refuses appropriate means to communicate with residents, people will find ways to be heard. David Bauerlein, this move only seems to have further angered those who would like to see the monuments removed.
That does seem to have been the case. It's just heightened the conflict, made it, given it a sharper edge, and extended. Now everybody who goes to City Hall is going to say, "Well, why is this policy in place? What's going on here?" And to your point, Melissa, some of the other changes that have been taking place in Jacksonville, the park where this monument to the women of the South stands used to be called Confederate Park. Now it's called Springfield Park. So there's been a willingness on the part of the city council to sort of shed that aspect of the park's past. The monument, for whatever reason, seems to be a different issue in terms of how that's being dealt with. And I don't know if it's just there's no appetite for it, or if there's just difficulty making a decision. I mean, certainly the mayor was really decisive about taking down that monument at what used to be called Hemming Park and is now called James Weldon Johnson Park in downtown. That happened really without a complete surprise when it was there one day and gone the next. For whatever reason, this particular monument's been standing now for more than a year since that June declaration that all the monuments would be coming down.
Let's go to your calls. 5492937. What do you think, folks? Tom on the west side. Hello, Tom.
Good morning. Yes, like I say, I'm just thoroughly confused by the mayor's approach to this. I mean, he makes a commitment, then he incompletely removes the first statue, the one from the Confederate soldier from James Weldon Johnson Park. Then there's this commission, which no one really understood why they even had a commission when he's already got his commitment made to remove all the statues. And now there's this intransigence about even talking about the statues. It is just all over the map, and it's frankly more than a little confusing.
Thanks, Tom. David Bauerlein, what about the commission on this? Is that why maybe we haven't seen resolution? Are they still playing a part in this conversation?
So the last I'd heard, they had given their report earlier this year, and it was made their recommendations, and I think that was that. I don't know that as far as I know, they've not been brought back to have any kind of additional input or feedback on what should happen. So that was kind of a way that could have sort of split the difference, you kind of keep the monument standing, but recontextualize it so that anybody who's looking at it has more understanding of the historical dimensions to it. But I don't think that group is still meeting. They issued their report, and that was that. So I think, there's the recommendations are there. It's just a matter of picking which one.
549-2937. John calling from City Hall. Hello, John. How are you?
Well, good morning, Melissa, and good morning, David. Yeah, I just came from the fourth floor of City Hall just to get the council calendar. And, I had no problem, going through security, get in the elevator, and, just go up to the fourth floor. But I think, the
Well, wait a minute.
issue,
Did you have an appointment or did you just walk in?
No, I just walked in, but
Okay.
I'm familiar to everybody there. So, that's, there's that part of it where, if you have attended in the past, they don't perceive it or, what do you want to call it? Almost profiling.
So what do you think of this policy then, John? If it sounds like, at least according to what you're telling us, it might be selectively enforced.
Well, selectively enforced, and that's a broad scope. And Melissa, if you don't cut me off, but I'm planning on attending the neighborhoods committee meetings, and this has to do with, again, addressing our legislative representatives. Like in my case, what do you do when council members don't return, phone calls or emails after years?
Mm-hmm.
Your only opportunity is City Hall.
Yeah. Thanks, John. And thanks for calling from City Hall. David, let me get your reaction to John here. He's calling literally from City Hall, says he was able to get up to the fourth floor, no problem.
Yeah, that sounds like, I don't know if it's intentional selective enforcement or if they just really don't have much of a way of enforcing it at all. The way you're supposed to work, as I understood it, was you go through the security checkpoint where they check the bags and everything, and then you're supposed to walk over to this information desk. You say why you're there, and I presume the way that would have worked is if John was there to pick up a calendar, then somebody would call up and say, John Nooney is coming up to pick up the calendar. Is that okay? And somebody would up there in the council office would say, yes, send him up. And then he goes up. So the fact that John just walked in sounds to me like, John's recognizable, so maybe that's the explanation.
Yeah,
for it,
he's a guy who engages
that's not
with
the policy.
Yeah.
Even the most recognizable person is supposed to have an invitation, I'm sure.
Interesting. Here's a tweet from Julie. This is not a good look. Potential sunshine and First Amendment violations. The problem is not the protesters. The problem is the mayor gave his word he'd take them down, and they're still up. The monument in Springfield embodies the subterfuge once used to lynch black men in post-Reconstruction Jacksonville. It's a monument to white women of the Confederacy, and what she's talking about is in that Jim Crow era after Reconstruction, false claims of black men raping white women were used to as justification to kill, to lynch black people. What about the other part of her comment, David? Is this a violation of the First Amendment, or more particularly Florida sunshine laws?
Yeah, those are two excellent questions. For the First Amendment part, I tend to think it's not a violation of the First Amendment because right now, even before this policy took place, that required consent to go above the first floor. A member of the public could go up to the fourth floor, and at that point could not go any further than, say, the lobby of City Council or the lobby of the mayor's office. And then there was a locked door, and so I don't think that's a violation of the First Amendment. So I don't think it's probably a violation, strictly speaking, of the First Amendment to have that particular perimeter start at the first floor in terms of being able to go up. I think it is a bad look, that's for sure. As far as the sunshine law, I think that's a legitimate question, which is, let's say Ben Fraser shows up and says, I'm here to go to the city council meeting on the fourth floor. And they say, well, you have to get an invitation from somebody to go up. Well, I mean, really, you need an invitation to go up to a publicly noticed meeting? That would seem like conflict with the open access to public meetings. Now, they could solve that by just not having any meetings on the fourth floor and have everything in the first floor meeting rooms. But if they're going to have meetings on the fourth floor, then I think that's a question that still is out there.
Yeah. They could also meet with these groups, as they've been repeatedly asking for time. So as we continue to follow the story, I encourage folks to follow David's reporting. David Bauerlein of the Florida Times-Union, thanks so much for being with us, as always.
Thank you, Melissa.
And much more still ahead. Later in the hour, the Jaguars lose at home Sunday to Denver. Our Josh Torres has the recap, but up next.
Potential Energy Coalition is a new nonprofit, a nonpartisan organization that is bringing together some of the best minds in marketing to try and ring the bell and awaken Americans to what's happening with climate change.
Scientists fighting climate change by getting the nation's moms involved. That's coming up.
CNS Healthcare is offering an agitation associated with Alzheimer's dementia research study. Has Alzheimer's changed your loved one? Have they shown verbal or physical symptoms of agitation? Learn more at cnshealthcare.com.
Storm season is here, and JEA is doing everything possible to prepare. And you can too, by updating your contact information and signing up for alerts. You can stay up to date on power restoration efforts. Update your contact info today at JEA.com.
Welcome back. Well, this summer's news cycle has been dominated by record-setting heat, droughts, wildfires, and hurricanes, impacting families across the country. But the majority of Americans aren't talking about climate change often or taking action on it. According to a new survey conducted this summer and released last week by the nonprofit climate marketing firm Potential Energy Coalition, more than 60% of Americans do say they are concerned or even very concerned about climate change and the environment. But only 14% talk about the issue regularly. This week is Climate Week. It's a global opportunity to come together to accelerate climate action. So we are talking about it. Potential Energy Coalition and the Ad Council are launching a new campaign this week called Science Moms. Now, this is a public awareness and engagement campaign to educate and empower moms and dads to act on climate change. Science Moms is a nonpartisan group of scientists who also happen to be mothers. And they're committed to breaking down climate change issues in ways that are simple and relevant to parents everywhere. And they're putting tools in your hands to take action for your children's future. For more on this, I spoke with John Marshall, co-founder and CEO of Potential Energy Coalition. John, it's good to be with you. Thanks for joining us.
Nice to be with you, Melissa.
Let's begin with the recent UN report looking at the expected impacts of climate change and the increasing urgency to act in the context of this public awareness campaign calling on parents Tell us about the campaign in the context of the new data.
Absolutely. So Potential Energy Coalition is a new nonprofit, a nonpartisan organization that is bringing together some of the best minds in marketing to try and ring the bell and awaken Americans to what's happening with climate change. And we have teamed up with a group called Science Moms, who are a group of climate scientists who are also parents, and they are the messengers of this campaign. And the goal is really to address, really an engagement gap in America. We as the impacts of climate change have gotten more severe, people are getting more concerned. Our recent work says as many as 60% of Americans are concerned about climate change, but only 14% of them are talking about it on a regular basis. And so the purpose of this campaign, which is launching this week in partnership with the Ad Council, is to really engage millions of parents across the country in the nature of the problem, making them aware of it and what they can do to act, and help us accelerate action on the problem.
That's so great because speaking as a mom myself, I try to use the platform I'm lucky enough to have been given here at WJCT to do my part in talking about this a lot. But I think a lot of parents feel powerless. They want to help raise awareness. They want to do something, but they're not really sure what to do. So how will this campaign put tools and resources into the hands of moms and dads to get this issue front and center?
Well, that's a great question. And our goal is to increase the conversation as well as to increase the action. So the Science Moms campaign is anchored in a website, ScienceMoms.com. It is a whole series of tools, particularly to moms, but to everybody, to learn about the problem, to understand what you can do both in your own life, but also in your community, and also reaching out to leaders, whether it be leaders of the companies you work with or local, state, and federal officials. The problem is only going to get solved if we all do our part, and that goes all the way from our individual lives, but also all the way up to citizens really pushing their leaders, especially their elected leaders, to take action. So ScienceMoms.com creates a platform for that, and it includes things like a very simple letter that all parents can send to their member of Congress to tell them that they're concerned about the problem and that they would love to see us move forward aggressively on it.
Yeah, and anyone can check it out at ScienceMoms.com, but dads are welcome too to join into this. This is a nonpartisan group of scientists who are also mothers and are committed to spurring greater action on this. According to the latest IPCC report that came out in August, they anticipate just about a decade left to prevent catastrophic changes to our climate that will affect our children and our grandchildren. Can you talk a little bit more about the urgency?
Certainly, and I think we've all experienced it over the course of the last 3 months. The growing droughts, the excessive wildfires, the excessive heat, the flooding, the storms, and I think this has become a summer where all of America has either seen it or experienced it. And I think the data says about 1 in 3 Americans have directly experienced some of these extreme weather incidents, and so it's definitely been something that people are noticing. And then the IPCC report came out in the first week of August, where the Secretary General of the UN said that it was a code red for humanity. So, over the years, the science has gotten better and better, and there's no doubt anymore that this is real, it's severe, it's caused by humans, but there's also a window to address it. The window is shortening, as you said, but now is the time. And so this campaign is really a rallying cry to American parents, American moms. Let's get together. Let's set politics aside. This is a human issue, not a political issue, and it's something that there's still time to solve.
How do average people, though, bring pressure to bear on their elected representatives who are in the pocket of the fossil fuel industry and the vested interest that really they stand to make a lot of money in the short term while we all will suffer in the long term?
Well, I think the dynamic has been changing, and you see a growing part of society recognizing this is a problem that we actually have to solve, and so there really aren't any leaders at all that don't recognize that this is real and it's harmful. And the other aspect of this is that we have solutions today, and the solutions are rapidly becoming cheaper and more effective. And so we really think that with the voices of the of your average American mom, we actually can reach a tipping point where the forces that are pushing for the solutions are stronger and and more effective than those that have been resisting that. And we see some progress, but we need millions of moms to pick up the phone, to call their elected officials, to talk about it in the PTA, to engage their friends, to share the content, to learn about it, to talk with their kids about it. We need folks to get active on it, and if we do, I think we're in a place as a society where we can tip this into a place of really getting it solved.
So check it out today, moms. Go to sciencemoms.com and get involved. And dads, too. And thank you, John. He's John Marshall, co-founder and CEO of Potential Energy Coalition. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks so much, Melissa. Good to be with you.
Well, single tickets are now on sale for the upcoming season of the Jacksonville Symphony Orchestra, and they've got a lot of fun stuff on their fall calendar. I spoke about it with conductor and musical director Courtney Lewis.
Courtney, good to talk to you. Thanks for joining us.
It's a pleasure to be with you again, Melissa.
All right, let's talk about the upcoming season. Tickets going on sale, and you have lots of exciting highlights to share, yes?
That's right. Single tickets go on sale today, September 7th, which we're very excited about. There are a number of season highlights this year. First of all, we're bringing opera back after a number of years away. We're going to be doing a symphonic stage version of Puccini's La Bohème. And this unforgettable, much-loved opera is going to be recast in Studio 54 in the heady days of the 70s in New York. Andy Warhol territory. So we're looking forward to that very exciting production.
That sounds great.
Yeah, it's going to be really exciting. With a world-class cast of singers, a wonderful director from the Metropolitan Opera. So very excited about that. We also have a series of 5 of Mozart's greatest piano concertos, played by, again, an international range of stars. And I'm especially excited about that this season because we have a brand new Steinway D concert grand piano that just arrived from New York a couple of days ago. So we're going to be hearing those piano concertos on a brand new, amazing instrument. And we've also started a set of commissions. Over the next 3 years, we're going to be commissioning 5 different composers to write new music for the Jacksonville Symphony. And the first of those pieces, by composer Tarek O'Regan, who used to teach me at university, will be played at the end of the year with Beethoven's Ninth Symphony. And then, of course, on top of all of that, we have all the music that you would expect from us that you know and love. Beethoven symphonies, Dvorak symphonies, Tchaikovsky, lots of really exciting stuff as well as new adventures.
Not busy at all then. It sounds amazing.
No.
And 2 free community concerts coming up too.
That's right. Those are coming up soon, so don't miss those as we get back into the swing of everything.
Now, we are still in the pandemic, so tell us how the symphony is handling that, Courtney.
So as you know, last year we had socially distanced audiences with masks. This season, we're keeping masks for the audience, but there will not be physical distancing in the hall. So the hall will be fully up for sale with as many people as possible again. And the orchestra will not be wearing masks and will not be socially distanced. So we'll finally have full-size orchestra back on stage. So we're just so excited to be back in Jacoby Symphony Hall and looking forward to seeing a full concert hall as we look out.
Sure. And for all of the fans and the musicians, this is exciting, too, to be getting back into the fall season after such a tough time.
That's right. It's right. And also, we have a long summer. So it's been a while since we've all been together making music at all. So it's always a very exciting time this year as we get ready to get everything back up and running.
How do you see the Jacksonville Symphony playing a role of bringing the community together and the power of music to do that?
Well, the Jacksonville Symphony is unique in town in that it's very special, a very special organization. We play at an international level, and I think what we really appreciated during the pandemic was how much people had missed us when we came back last September after that short break. We really sensed the the need for music, the want for music, the love of music in our community. And we were very excited to be able to provide that last year. But of course, it wasn't really the real thing. It wasn't really a full-size symphony orchestra. So I know that we've been receiving a lot of fan mail, excited that we're coming back. We're just delighted to be able to return and to keep offering great music to this wonderful city.
And so much planned. People can check it out at your website, jaxsymphony.org. Get your single tickets. Look at the schedule. There will be new work, also new original music that will premiere later this year. Free community concerts on October 1st and 2nd. And, of course, Courtney Lewis conducting. So lots to get excited about.
Indeed. We can't wait to start.
Thanks so much for being with us, and have a great season.
Thank you very much, Melissa.
Well, fall is in the air. That means pumpkin spice lattes, slightly cooler temperatures, and our fall pledge drive. Our station manager, David Luckin, is here now to tell us all about it. Hey, David.
We are here because listeners just like you want us to be here, because we've been here now with NPR 50 years. It's our 49th year. Our 50th will hit next year, but we really need people to give us a call. If you've been enjoying this program, First Coast Connect, for the last decade, or Morning Edition for the last, or All Things Considered for 50 years, Morning Edition not quite 50, then you're the person we're reaching out to this morning to give us a call at 353-9528 and show your support for good local programming like Melissa's First Coast Connect, where we connect you with the newsmakers, the artists, anyone who we find interesting or important, we try and get on the program, right?
That's right. You know, we actually started 12 years ago.
Oh, geez, where have I been?
I know. It's amazing. I mean, time flies. The first day we went on the air was August 31st, 2009.
I should remember that because that was you and me and
it was you, me, and basically an intern who put this plane in the air while we were still building the plane. And our first guest, as you recall, was the former owner of the Jacksonville Jaguars, Wayne Weaver. It was so funny, David, because I remember that morning he had not shown up, and it was a few minutes before 9.
Yes.
And I panicked, and I called over to the Jaguars office, and I said, is Wayne Weaver going to come over here and do this show? And his assistant said, oh, yeah, he forgot about that. He'll be right over.
Ooh.
The good news is the stadium is right across the street from us, and he made it with seconds to spare, and off we went. And I was terrified that we were going to start with a terrible thud and with no guest.
Right.
But we got him on the air, and off we went with Wayne, and what a 12 years it's been.
And we'll give people a peek behind the curtain here. It's always rough when our first guest isn't here at 5 minutes to the hour.
Exactly.
It's happened more than just with Mr. Weaver. We've had that a few times where we're kind of scrambling, wondering how are we going to readjust this program.
We have had to do that a few times, but you know, when I think about it, over 12 years of doing this every single day, what's really remarkable is how consistently people do show up on time with a good attitude, ready to talk about issues that matter most to this community. And of course, with the Florida Roundup, which is our new statewide call-in show that we're very pleased to be part of, we get people from across the state enthusiastically contributing to that vital public affairs show. So if you value the kind of content we create here at WJCT News, now's the time to show your support by calling 353-9528. You can make a one-time pledge, or you can do a monthly sustaining donation. I do that, and I did that at your recommendation, David, years ago. Well, you know, we're not asking people to do anything we don't do ourselves.
I am also
we
a
believe
sustainer.
in the mission. Yeah, we are sustainers. I sustain this organization with a small donation each month. And you can do it too. You can even text in your donation now.
And with your program, we've had calls before from Tampa and from California and everywhere. So if you're listening to us right now on the app anywhere, and you're a regular listener of First Coast Connected, take the time now to give us a call at 353-9528, or go online at wjct.org, and the donate or support button will be right there in front of you. So take the time to support the programs and a program that really supports the community. We are a voice for the community. That's how we see ourselves, I think, carrying out our mission of keeping you entertained, enlightened, and educated. But we're kind of as Evan said earlier, we're kind of the glue that holds this whole community together. People come on this program and share their ideas, their thoughts, their projects, and then that's how they get out into the community.
That's right. We are so pleased to be the platform for people that really want to amplify their message. And, we try to cover the waterfront and cover all of the issues that are important to Northeast Florida and South Georgia. And so if you're a regular listener, become a regular supporter. Give us a call right now at 353-9528 or go online to wjct.org/donate and become a regular sustainer. It's easy to do. It's like one latte a month or whatever is a little tiny discretionary purchase you make each month. Consider putting that toward public media.
And we're here 24/7. You don't throw the empty cup into the trash can when you're done with us because we never end. We're here when you wake up. We're here when you go to bed. We've got 4 sub-channels. We've got classical music and classic hits and chill out. We've got all of our community outreach into the community. We're always doing our lunch and learns. We've opened our soundstage back up. We've got a concert, I believe, coming up this week with Mr. Vaughn playing the blues for us.
Actually, that's not coming up this week.
I'm sorry. We got Spyro Gyra coming, but whatever. We're building the soundstage as we go. Of course, we've been slowed down a little bit because of the pandemic, so otherwise we would be way ahead of this game. But that's just some of the stuff we do. But we know you're mainly here for this program and all the other great programs on WJCT News 89.9. So call us up and show that support. Whether it's $5 or $500, it really doesn't matter. We just like to have you part of the family.
Give us a call, 353-9528, and keep listening. In a moment, a recap of the Jaguars' first home game of the season. Oh, boy. Not good news. We'll be right back.
Baptist Health is a proud sponsor of First Coast Connect with Melissa Ross. WinGuard, a Jacksonville-based marketing and communications agency, provides Northeast Florida businesses with services to help with their reopening, such as digital and social media marketing, local advertising, and public relations. More information at wearewinguard.com.
I'm Courtney Lewis, music director of the Jacksonville Symphony. The orchestra and I are delighted to welcome you for the 2021-22 season, live in Jacoby Hall, September 24th and 25th. Romance abounds as award-winning pianist Daniel Shu performs Mozart's Piano Concerto No. 20, along with the Jacksonville Symphony's inspiring musicians. Tickets at jacksymphony.org.
On the next Fresh Air, a political reporter grapples with questions many Americans are asking. How did our country become so divided? Why is there so much rage and fear? And how did the gap grow so large between the wealthiest and everyone else? We talk with New Yorker staff writer Evan Osnos, author of Wildland, The Making of America's Fury. Join us.
Today at noon on WJCT News 89.9.
Danny called us from West Bend, Wisconsin. His mom is 83 and in a nursing home, or at least she was.
She hated it. She ended up moving home.
The long-term care industry is being pushed to give its residents and workers more say. How are nursing homes changing, and are they changing fast enough? That's next time on 1A.
Today starting at 10 on WJCT News 89.9.
Welcome back. Well, the Jags played their first regular season game at the bank yesterday against the Denver Broncos, trying to rebound after an embarrassing loss to the Texans. Sadly, they lost again. Our director, Josh Torres, was there in the press box, and he's here now with the recap and some other sports news and notes. Hey, Josh.
Hey, Melissa.
All right. So they had this terrible loss to the Houston Texans. There were such high hopes for the home matchup against Denver. Trevor Lawrence had a good start.
Yes, he did, and then it went very much downhill for him and the team. He started off the game, beautiful drive, and it was a 25-yard pass to Marvin Jones Jr., and then they just kind of became very stagnant right after that. They just could not get anything going. A lot of 3-and-outs, and I gotta say, as much as I think it pains a lot of Jags fans to have seen, Trevor really looked like a rookie out there yesterday. I mean, he was making some very, very questionable throws, was picked off another 2 times yesterday. One was just he didn't put enough zip on the ball to get it to his receiver. Another one was just actually, honestly, a very beautiful interception with a toe tap along the sidelines. But he just threw a lot into heavy coverage, double coverage, passes that really you shouldn't throw, overthrew receivers. I mean, it just was not a good look from him. He ended up finishing the game 14 for 33 for only 118 yards, had the TD pass, but the 2 interceptions. The defensive front looked really, really good. They were really pressuring Teddy Bridgewater for the most part, but there were a lot of times where they also just kind of let him run around the pocket and didn't really get him down, force him into bad throws. And their secondary got torched by Teddy Bridgewater and the Broncos. Receiver Cortland Sutton had 159 receiving yards on the Jags secondary, and it was just not a good look from them. And the team is now 0-2 for yet another season. This is the 17th straight regular season loss for the Jags since last year, and they're going to need to turn around very, very quickly because this upcoming weekend they are taking on the Arizona Cardinals, who their quarterback Kyler Murray is going to be a problem for this defense if they do not turn it around very quickly. I believe, if I remember correctly, he threw for over 400 yards yesterday. So he can also run. So if they do not turn it around very quickly, it's going to be another long Sunday at TIAA Bank Field.
Yeah. Now, at the same time, Dan Edwards, he's been with the team for a really long time.
Yes,
Senior
he
Vice
has.
President Dan Edwards, really unusual in the NFL to have that kind of lengthy tenure.
Yep, he was one of the original Jags executives. He's been around since the team was created back in 1994, and at the end of this season, he announced that he will be retiring. So it's really sad to see him go. And I think one of the things he was really hoping was to see this team really take off and finally see the fruits of all of his efforts for the last 27 years. So, who knows? Maybe the team can get it turned around and give Dan the season he deserves.
Okay, so let's move ahead to NASCAR. This is interesting. A big change for a big event moving from Daytona Beach down the road from us. What's happening, Josh?
Yeah, so for those of you who don't know, the week leading up to the Daytona 500 usually starts with a race called the Clash. It's usually an invitational event for for about 20 of the drivers, where they really show off what's going to happen this year. It's been held in Daytona since 1979. Well, this year they've decided to move it from Daytona to LA. They are going to put it in the LA Coliseum on a quarter-mile temporary oval built inside of the Coliseum. It's actually going to be held the week before the Super Bowl and 2 weeks before the season opening race at the Daytona 500. The field's going to be about 20 to 25 drivers, where we will be seeing the first action of their next-gen cars that the drivers are going to use for the next season. NASCAR is finishing up their season right now as their playoff reaches the round of 12.
All right. College football, the Gators, the big game of the week was Florida against Alabama.
Yes, it was. And Alabama at first looked like they were going to be in control. Another easy win for the Crimson Tide and Nick Saban. But the Gators really came back strong. I definitely think they had a crowd of over 90,000 fans at Ben Hill Griffin Stadium, and I think they really inspired that team. They really came back in the second quarter, looked like they actually might pull it off. They got a late touchdown that could have tied it up, but unfortunately the Gators fell 31-29 after a failed two-point conversion off a touchdown late in the fourth quarter. Alabama stays undefeated, but the Gators definitely showed some serious heart, and they could definitely be going somewhere, especially if they get a rematch in the SEC championship game.
All right. Almost out of time, but Miami going down to Michigan State and Georgia holding South Carolina in check.
Yep, Miami got beat pretty badly, 38-17. I have to apologize again to senior producer Heather Schatz, who is a big Miami fan. Their season definitely is not going the way they thought. Georgia who jumped up to number 2 in the rankings, held South Carolina very much in check thanks to their very strong defense that I've been talking about all season. They won 40-13. And then the last game of the week was FSU, who, man, the Seminoles, they are definitely, they might be drinking the same water that the Jags are
Yeah.
drinking, because they have dropped 0-3 after a 35-14 loss to Wake Forest. It's the first time they are 0-3 since the first season of the late Bobby Bowden back in the 70s.
Ooh.
So this is definitely a big problem for the Seminoles program, who had 6 turnovers in that game, and they are just not looking good at all right now.
Local football fans have a tough season ahead of them, it seems. Always good to get your sports insights. Thanks, Josh.
Thank you, Melissa.
And that's our show. Josh also directs the show every day. Thanks to him, along with producers Heather Schatz and Catherine Hobbs, plus editorial director Jessica Palumbo. I'm Melissa Ross. We'll be back at 9 a.m. tomorrow. Be safe, everyone. Have a great day.
Support for First Coast Connect is provided by Baptist Health and the North Florida TPO.
Baptist Health.